Have you ever wondered how a country with thousands of years of imperial history transformed into a communist state in just a few decades? It's a story of ambition, conflict, and massive social upheaval. Let's dive into the tumultuous journey of the Chinese Communist Revolution. Our story begins in the early 20th century. China was in a state of crisis. The Qing dynasty, which had ruled for over 250 years, was crumbling under the weight of internal corruption and external pressure from foreign powers. The country was carved up into spheres of influence, and the Chinese people felt a deep sense of national humiliation. This fertile ground of discontent gave rise to revolutionary ideas. In 1911, the Xinhai Revolution erupted, overthrowing the last emperor and establishing the Republic of China. It was a momentous event, but it didn't bring the stability everyone hoped for. Instead, the country fragmented into regions controlled by powerful warlords, each with their own army, fighting for control. The central government in Beijing was weak and ineffective. Amidst this chaos, new ideologies were taking hold. The May 4th movement of 1919 was a massive student-led protest against the government's weak response to the Treaty of Versailles, which handed German concessions in China over to Japan. This movement was a cultural and intellectual awakening, sparking a surge in Chinese nationalism and a desire for radical change. People began looking for new solutions, and one of those solutions was Marxism-Leninism, fresh from the success of the Bolshevik Revolution in Russia. In 1921, a small group of intellectuals, including a young librarian's assistant named Mao Zedong, secretly met in Shanghai to form the Chinese Communist Party, or CCP, at the same time. Another political force was gaining strength, the Kuomintang, or KMT, the Nationalist Party, led by Sun Yat-sen. Initially, these two parties saw a common enemy in the warlords and foreign imperialists. Under guidance from the Soviet Union, the CCP and KMT formed the First United Front in 1924. They worked together, with communists even joining the KMT, to launch the Northern Expedition, a military campaign to unify China under their control. The expedition was a remarkable success, sweeping through southern and central China and defeating many warlord armies. But this alliance was fragile, built on mutual suspicion. After Sun Yat-sen's death in 1925, leadership of the KMT fell to Chiang Kai-shek, a military man who was deeply wary of the communists' growing influence. He saw them as a threat to his power and his vision for China. The breaking point came in 1927. In what became known as the Shanghai Massacre, Chiang Kai-shek turned on his communist allies. Thousands of communists, labor union members, and suspected sympathizers were rounded up and executed in Shanghai and other cities. This brutal betrayal shattered the United Front and marked the beginning of a bloody civil war that would last for decades. The surviving communists were forced to flee to the countryside. This is where Mao Zedong's ideas began to take center stage. Unlike traditional Marxists who focused on urban factory workers, Mao believed that China's revolution would be won by mobilizing its vast rural population, the peasants. He established a rural base in the Jingking Mountains, developing his strategies of guerrilla warfare and land reform. His policy was simple: take land from wealthy landlords and redistribute it to the poor peasants. This won him massive support among the rural masses who made up the overwhelming majority of China's population. Chiang Kai-shek, now the leader of the recognized government in Nanjing, was determined to crush this communist banditry. He launched a series of encirclement campaigns to wipe out Mao's rural Soviets. For several years, the communists managed to hold them off using guerrilla tactics. But by 1934, the KMT's superior numbers and firepower became overwhelming. Facing annihilation, the communists made a desperate decision to abandon their base and embark on a strategic retreat. This was the beginning of the legendary Long March. Over the next year, around 86,000 soldiers and party members trekked over 6,000 miles through some of China's most difficult terrain, crossing snow-capped mountains and treacherous rivers, all while constantly battling KMT forces and local warlords. The Long March was an incredibly brutal ordeal. Fewer than 10,000 people who started the journey survived to reach the new base in Yan'an, in the remote northwestern province of Shaanxi. It was a military disaster, yet it became a powerful propaganda victory for the communists. It solidified Mao Zedong's leadership of the party and created a founding myth of courage, endurance, and unwavering commitment. The survivors of the Long March would form the core leadership of the CCP for decades to come. Just as the Civil War was escalating, a new, even greater threat emerged. Imperial Japan, which had already seized Manchuria in 1931, launched a full-scale invasion of China in 1937. This marked the beginning of the Second Sino-Japanese War, which would later merge into World War II. Faced with a common enemy, the KMT and CCP were pressured into forming a second united front. The Civil War was put on hold, at least officially, as both sides agreed to fight the Japanese invaders. However, the truce was uneasy at best. Chiang Kai-shek focused his best troops on containing the communists rather than fighting the Japanese, while the communists used the war as an opportunity to expand their influence. While the KMT army bore the brunt of conventional battles against the Japanese, suffering immense casualties, the communists perfected their guerrilla warfare tactics behind enemy lines. They established liberated zones, organized peasant resistance, and continued their land reform policies, winning hearts and minds. The CCP's effective resistance and discipline stood in stark contrast to the corruption and inefficiency that plagued the KMT government. By the end of the war in 1945, the Communists had significantly grown their army and controlled territory with a population of nearly 100 million people. With the Japanese surrender, the fragile alliance collapsed, and the Chinese Civil War resumed with even greater intensity. At first, it seemed like the KMT had the upper hand. They had a much larger army, more advanced American-supplied weaponry, and international recognition, but they were facing immense problems. Years of war had devastated the economy, leading to hyperinflation that wiped out the savings of the middle class. Corruption within the KMT government was rampant, alienating much of the population. Their troops were often poorly led and had low morale. In contrast, the Communists, now renamed the People's Liberation Army, were a highly disciplined and motivated force. Mao's promise of land to the peasants secured him an endless supply of recruits and popular support. They received captured Japanese weapons from the Soviet Union in Manchuria, which gave them a crucial industrial base. The tide turned decisively between 1947 and 1949. The People's Liberation Army launched a series of major offensives, winning key battles across northern China and Manchuria. Entire KMT divisions, demoralized and poorly supplied, would surrender or defect to the communist side. The KMT's military and political structure began to disintegrate. By early 1949, the Communists had captured Beijing. The fall of major cities like Shanghai and Nanjing followed in quick succession. The KMT's defeat was total. Chiang Kai-shek, along with the remnants of his government and about 2 million followers, fled across the strait to the island of Taiwan. On October 1, 1949, standing atop the Gate of Heavenly Peace in Beijing, Mao Zedong proclaimed the founding of the People's Republic of China. He declared to the massive crowd, "The Chinese people have stood up." It was the culmination of over 2 decades of brutal warfare and relentless struggle. The revolution completely remade Chinese society. It ended a century of foreign domination and unified the country under a single, powerful central government for the first time in decades. The new government implemented sweeping changes, including land redistribution, a new marriage law that gave women more rights, and literacy campaigns. However, this transformation came at a tremendous human cost. The decades of war had killed millions. The new regime quickly consolidated its power through campaigns that targeted counter-revolutionaries and landlords, often with brutal violence. The revolution's promise of a new era was real, but its path was paved with both progress and immense suffering, setting the stage for the next dramatic chapters in China's modern history. And that is the epic story of the Chinese Communist Revolution, a complex and consequential event that not only changed China forever but also reshaped the entire geopolitical landscape of the 20th century. Thanks so much for watching. If you found this journey through history interesting, please hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into the events that shaped our world. See you next time.